Broadcasting live from atop the Rocky Mountains, the crossroads of the West. You are listening to the Liberty Roundtable Radio Talk Show.
Mr. Curt Crosby, Anthony Fauci, Haitians, the J6ers, Stewart Rhodes. It's all coming up on this edition of Liberty Roundtable Live. I'm happy to have you along, my fellow Americans. I'm Sam Bushman. The money man is not with us today. Heath Perkins had to take a bow. Next week he'll be with us, though. But do realize that freewatercoinco.com is your destination for honest money, constitutional currency, numismatic coins, and the list goes on and on. freewatercoinco.com. Meanwhile, I've got Curt Crosby with me, the Honeyman, localhoneyman.com. Welcome back, sir.
Buenos dias. Greetings and salutations. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Thank you, Sam.
You're very welcome. First is the Honest Money Report. Gold, $42.91.80. So it's going up $42.91. It's above its where it's been for quite a while. So it's going up again as things get a little bit more, turmoil in the markets, if you will. Silver, $62.25. So silver, $62 an ounce. Used to be back in the day, gold was $35 an ounce. Wow. Things change, that's for sure. So the Senate Homeland Security, Curt, and Governmental Affairs Committee voted 8-5 to hold Anthony Fauci in contempt of Congress. The vote followed Fauci invoking the Fifth Amendment 111 times over the COVID-19 discussions, and everybody's saying, listen, why would he have to plead the Fifth that many times? He already had a pardon from Joe. So here's the question. Great news. I appreciate them doing that, but will it really get Fauci in trouble, Curt?
Well, that remains to be seen. I do hope that he, like Steve Bannon and our buddy, Mr. in the White House, I'm trying to remember his name, but anyway, Steve Bannon's buddy, that both spent time in prison for the exact same thing, contempt of Congress. But in their case, it was justified, in my opinion. In this case, it's certainly not, I don't believe. But, it'll be surprising to me to see, I guess it's an 85-year-old Fauci in prison. But it would be, in my opinion, welcome. It's what should happen. I think there's a lot more that should happen on the payment and restoration for all that he's done.
Yeah, now I'm convinced with Anthony Fauci, what we've got is he just absolutely lied to the American people. Matt Staver and our dear friends over at Liberty Counsel are now alleging that, according to his diaries and everything else, he realized a lot of these things. There's a lot of people dead. There's a lot of women who had their babies basically miscarry because of this, or women, had all kinds of issues like that. And so that's a big problem. But you got to ask yourself what happens next now, right? The contempt matter is referred to the Justice Department. Then the DOJ is going to decide whether to prosecute or not. And then if Fauci is criminally charged, then he can go ahead and contest the charges in federal court, I guess. And then only if he's ultimately convicted could a judge impose prison for Fauci. So see, I appreciate the great work that Rand Paul's done. I appreciate this committee doing a good job. I just really have my doubts that it'll go this far and Fauci will go to jail. I could be wrong, and I pray that I'm wrong because I think he deserves to go to jail. But Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro, that's the gentleman you were mentioning, Curt.
That's right.
Eventually both served prison sentences, but they were both criminally prosecuted and convicted for contempt of Congress, you see. And so Fauci, his case hasn't really reached that stage, so it's going to be a little bit before we can count on that, right? That's kind of the deal. Now, I know that's frustrating for everybody, but listen, remember, we believe people are innocent until proven guilty. And so these things take time. These things take these steps. It's called due process. Even though I'm not really happy with what Fauci's done, and I think he's a criminal, and even though I want these things to happen because I believe he's guilty, I still support due process for Anthony Fauci. So let's get the due process done. Let's not drag our feet. But I hope we have, positive on this, because I personally believe that he's guilty. I have the right to my opinion on this. But we need to realize we support due process even for Fauci, Curt.
Amen to that. And, a little recent tidbit from Fox News. The headline reads, Fauci's HHS iPhone turned over to Senate investigators as contempt vote looms. I'm surprised. I mean, when you learn about the diary, like you mentioned from Liberty Counsel, our buddies there talking about that, to me, I'm just surprised Fauci had all that data and all that paperwork.
Yeah, well, he could have destroyed it. I don't know why he did or did not. One of the interesting things is this is not just his personal diary, though. This is like a scientific diary, from what I understand, where he kind of records what is happening, et cetera. Now, the interesting thing is Rand Paul forced that diary to be released, and they released it, and then they yanked it back off, and then they released a redacted version. So that's problematic as well, because in that diary, it talked about Anthony Fauci possibly having a heart attack after he took the clot shot, or having some kind of an incident after that. Matthew Staver over at Liberty Counsel is talking about that too. So there's a lot here. There's way more than meets the eye. The question is how much of it will really, be vetted, and how much of it will we really get our hands on as the public. And that's what concerns me. When they yank that and then we replace it with a redacted version, it tells me the cover-up has begun, Curt.
Well, yeah, it's always interesting on that whole redaction stuff. I remember years ago when we asked for our own, Freedom of Information Act request, about our paperwork. And then you get all those, like in my case, there was some 60-something pages of it. And then they got these marks all through it. Yeah, sure, they're, giving you the data, but they're really not, It's kind of like in that one movie, Hidden Figures. I don't know if you ever heard about it, but that movie's, it's got this lady in there telling about, this supposedly secret paperwork, and they give it to her, but she holds it up to the light and she can see right through the black redacted.
Yeah.
So.
And too bad it doesn't really work that way for us, right?
Right. That's right. I just thought it was funny in that movie.
Well, it highlights that, we the people really deserve the truth.
Yeah,
I have a problem with them redacting it in the first place. What about Fauci's diary? Well, he's the most highly paid public service in history, and then we believe there's all these scandals and concerns, and it conflicts with his on-record narrative. Why can't we, the people, see that?
Yeah, that's right. It's called the truth.
It's called He Works for Us.
Yeah, that's right. We're the payers of it, But anyway, you got those holders of information that, whether it's JFK or Tuskegee or, the moon.
Jeffrey Epstein. Yeah.
I mean, it goes on, doesn't it?
It does, and it's sad. But listen, the wheels of justice grind very slowly. I'm praying with Fauci that what happens next is the Justice Department gets it done, does their part, and then we basically criminally, prosecute, and then they say, yes, we're going to prosecute, and then we just go ahead and do it and, let Fauci try to defend himself. But when he pleads the fifth over 111 times, and when he's already got a pardon at his fingertips, see, the problem is when he takes the pardon, as far as I understand, he's not allowed to plead the fifth.
Yeah, but you look at those pardons, man, Sam, that auto pin thing.
Oh, yeah. But see, I wish they would go after that too, but they just kind of said no harm, no foul with that. Presidents have done that forever. No big deal. I disagree, though, because when you have the president like Biden, which is, he doesn't even know where he's at half the time. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, even said, hey, I talked to him about things. He doesn't really even know what's being signed or what's going on. We have witness testimony proving that that's different than somebody in their right mind saying, yes, I approve this, go ahead and auto-sign it. There's differences there, and I think we're not really covering those, and it's sad for me to say. I guess they're just going to say, Joe's old, leave him alone. But that's just the insider boys with no accountability, Curt.
Well, and the bottom line is if he wasn't really elected, and he wasn't, then he wouldn't have had any of that authority to do any of that stuff, and neither would of any of his people. So, you just basically got to reroute all that stuff.
I agree. And whether you go after Joe or you say he's too old and senile and he doesn't really know, what about the people that did the auto pen on his behalf? They should have some accountability because,
That's
look,
right.
Curt, if you don't know what's going on, just for instance, and then I decide I'm just signing for Curt because Curt doesn't know what's going on, maybe Curt's not guilty, but I'm certainly guilty because I know the truth. I know better. I know why I'm auto signing, and I know that Curt's not aware of what I'm approving, etc. That alone. So anyway, I wish we'd be going after that too. Alas, we're not going to, I don't think. I wish we would. The judge clears the way to end deportation protection for roughly 350,000 Haitians. We'll talk about what this means in seconds. Curt Crosby, the Honeyman, with me, localhoneyman.com. You're watching Liberty Roundtable live. The Honeyman, localhoneyman.com, and yours truly breaking down the hard-hitting news the networks refuse to use. So judge clears the way to end deportation protections for the Haitians, 350,000 of them. U.S. District Judge, is it Anna Reyes, wrote on Wednesday that her order regarding the stay of Homeland Security, it's no longer in effect. And so now the question is, what's really going to happen with this, Curt, do you think?
Well, here you got a judge, some judge that basically just makes herself more powerful than the president. I mean, the Haitians, the way I understand it, they've been here on a, temporary protected status for, I don't know.
But she ended the status, though. She's agreeing with Trump.
She's wanting them to go. Okay.
Well, she ended the protection. So she says no more protection anymore. So now Trump can take action because of her ruling.
Yeah. Now the big question is, will they really do it?
That's the question, right? And I'm saying with Anna, this judge, good for her, because I don't think they deserve protection, not on a mass case basis like this. You don't just say, hey, we give you, carte blanche protection. Now, if you want to take this case by case and do certain people may have asylum needs or something like that, okay, fine. But as a mass group getting this mass protection, Anna says, hey, that's going to stop. The stay of this temporary protection is gone. Curt?
Oh, the stay is gone. Okay, good. Yeah, because, I mean, you look at that. Most of them, as I understand, are in Ohio, I believe. And
a lot of them, yes, sir. And they're the ones that are having all that weird, crazy stuff going down with the stealing of money and all these daycare centers and all this weird stuff, right?
Well, I know they are, but also you got that going on in Minnesota with the Somalians.
Them too.
It just seems like there's just boatloads of fraud in so many places, and they ought to be, be sent home, basically.
Amen. So I want to see what Trump's going to do with this now. I think the window's open to deport a lot of these people, and I know it's sad that some families are going to get torn apart.
As far as I know, there's a program that basically said, hey, any of you people that are here illegally, if you go back and self-deport, then you're going to be eligible to, come back and, do it right. As far as I know, that's on the table still.
It is on the table, and that's what they're pushing right now, and I support it 1,000%, Kurt.
Well, yeah, and I mean, then good people can go ahead and say, "Hey, let's get this thing done right and get things squared away."
Yeah, because a lot of them could say, "Well, I believe that Biden invited me, so I came. I didn't realize, exactly the deal, and now I do. So I'm sorry. I'll deport, and then I'll come back right." So you can't blame some of these people either with the mixed messages that we gave the world internationally under the Biden regime, right?
Well, exactly. And, some people say, well, that's an undue hardship or whatever. Well, as far as I know, it includes, the payment of the flight home and all that kind of stuff.
And oftentimes they're given a stipend to help them, get kind of started or get transitioned and all that too. Not that I really want to spend a lot of taxpayer dollars on that, but it's relative because we're already spending money to keep them here too, big time, as you can see.
Good point.
So, I mean, when you have a bad situation, sometimes there's, which bad answer do you want to take, Kurt?
You got to clean it up, man. This is one massive mess.
Anyway, so I find this piece of good news, this judge, good for her because I think she's right. And, Trump said we got to get rid of this status for them. And the court said, no, hold on. You can't do that. And then Anna said, oh, yes, you can.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, it's good news. I got another interesting good news piece for you, too, Kurt.
Yeah.
Judge dismisses the last January 6th case, ending the Oath Keepers' seditious conspiracy prosecution. U.S. District Judge Amit Mehta, I think is how you say the name, dismissed the case against 9 defendants, writing that this was the last of the prosecutions seeking accountability for that day. Acting at the Trump administration's request, I guess, the Justice Department moved in April to vacate the convictions of founder Stewart Rhodes, who I'm going to still claim is my dear friend. I'm going to claim he should have never, ever, ever gone to jail in the first place. And so this U.S. District Judge, Kurt, doing a great job, too, saying, hey, you know what? This should have never happened. Stewart Rhodes did nothing wrong, and so they dismissed it. The judge said, I went against my better judgment because I didn't want to do it, but I had to obey the law. Now, that's a sad commentary from the judge because he wanted to prosecute anyway, but at least he had the integrity to follow the law. And the bottom line is Stewart Rhodes and the other defendants with him go free. It's the last of the cases. Now, what do we do to help some of these people that are suffering because of the abuse they took? Yeah, we got out of jail thanks to President Donald J. Trump. And then now, basically, this has got dismissed thanks again to President Donald J. Trump. And so that's great news. But, man, we need to do more for these people, Kurt, in my opinion.
Well, you constantly hear the story of the, African Americans, I guess you call them that basically want reparations, right, Sam?
Yeah,
Yet none of them were the slaves. It was a long time ago and all that kind of stuff. And yet, if you bring that up for people like our good friend Stewart Rhodes and the Oath Keepers and who've been mistreated, and there's some of the best people I know.
Sure.
And yet, if you talk about trying to make them whole, you're some kind of evil dude, I mean, it's just crazy, isn't it?
Well, and I know Trump tried to do the $1.8 billion fund to reimburse and to get, take care of some of these people that have been abused by Biden and Barack and company over the last many years. And then I know that got kind of shot down, which is sad. But Trump's made a lot of money as he's been in office via cryptocurrency and et cetera, et cetera. I think Trump could raise money for a lot of these victims by putting, maybe he puts 20 million, 50 million, 100 million into a GoFundMe kind of account, and then he challenges and invites other big leaders to do the same. So Elon, match me. Hey, Bezos, why don't you match me? Hey, and he just calls out 50, 100 big money people and says, hey, let's do this thing. And then it wouldn't have to happen. The taxpayers have already been fleeced on this thing. And this is a way that good people could kind of, I think it'd be huge before the midterms if Trump and company would do that. And if Trump can't do it directly because he's president and they would say it's a conflict of interest, let Don Jr. do it, Kurt, or somebody.
Well, yeah.
And then guys like me could even throw in, I can't throw in big money like they've got. Excuse me. I can't throw in big money like they've got, but I can throw in some money. And so the American people could participate in caring for their fellow Americans too. And then it wouldn't be, in my opinion, socialism or redistribution of wealth or any government thing. It'd just be good people want to see it made right. And I would jump in on that plan, Curt.
Basically did the prosecutions and things like that. The bad guys, whether it's Comey or the whole crew there,
yeah, for sure.
They're the ones, they ought to be paying some big fines and things like that or jail time because of what they did, and
Joe Biden being one of them.
That's right. And, they say he's a poor church mouse now, whether it's Joe or Hunter or whatever. Well, all I can say is, those guys get those massive book deals and stuff like that. There's got to be money there, and it ought to go to repair people like Stewart Rhodes and so many others who were harmed by their actions.
Yeah, I just did an interview live with Jacob Lang, or Jake Lang as he's known, who was a J602. We had him on the broadcast, a year and a half ago or something. But then I was at Freedom Fest live, and Jake Lang sat down and we did an interview. So check that out on YouTube, everybody. But Jake talks about how he runs around the country now standing up for liberty. And man, he's got video where they just beat the tar out of him and just abuse him and stuff like that. And the cops just sit there and do nothing, Curt. And it's just a disgrace. And so Jake Lang, in my mind, is a hero. This guy needs support, and he's highlighting how violent and extreme and crazy the, I don't know what you call them, the socialists, the communists, whatever you want to call them. Some people just call them the left, right? But how crazy they are. I mean, he will just go anywhere, and they just trigger and just converge on him. And the cops do nothing, Curt. It's insane.
Yeah. If you get the right kind of sheriffs or whatever, it's kind of like that one song that says, try that in a small town,
Jason Aldean, yeah.
Yeah. If you just stay out of those big cities, then you're in pretty good shape. But those small towns, that's where the safety is,
Amen. And they tried to beat up Jason Aldean for even creating that song, saying, how dare you? And he's just like, hey, man, I'm not going to apologize for it. It's true.
That was a great.
Small towns won't tolerate that stuff. And I think that is the quintessential point that needs to be made, is that, look, we don't want any violence, but we're also not going to let you just run around and beat people up and harm people. That's not what we do. So anyway, there's a couple of good news pieces for you, ladies and gentlemen. This episode in the can. Time flies when you're having fun, but I'm delighted to see that the judge dismisses Stewart Rhodes and the last January 6th case. That's great news. For Curt Crosby, localhoneyman.com, freewatercoinco.com, I'm Sam Bushman. We're available everywhere. YouTube, Rumble, Truth Social. Spread the word, share the love. LibertyRoundtable.com, because it's Liberty Roundtable Live. Radio, video, we're everywhere, baby. Spread the word, share the love, and God save our constitutional republic.